What motivates an individual to take the lives of their entire family and then embark on a scuba tour in Mexico? Is it the feelings of shame, guilt, or something so deeply personal that only the perpetrator can comprehend? Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jules, and hi, welcome back to True Crime Jules. If you're not subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment on any case suggestion you would like to see me do. So guys, today's case, we are going to talk about the family annihilator, and obviously we're going to talk about Christian Longo. So this case happened between 2001, 2003, 2004, so it's quite an old case. And if you know about this case, still watch my video. If you do not know about this case, kindly sit back and let's just dive right into this video. So trigger warning: the Christian Longo case involves themes of violence, harm to children, and loss of life. The details surrounding this case can be distressing and may evoke strong emotions. Proceed with caution if you decide to delve into this topic, and consider your emotional well-being while doing so. On December 19, 2001, in the Alsea River, there were a bunch of folks that were just chilling and fishing in the river. Upon chilling and fishing, having a good day, a good time in the river, they see something floating, and what they see floating is this pale little body that was just floating in the water. They could tell right away that this body floating in the water was that of a kid, because the body floating in the water was very tiny. And when they look into the water, they had seen that this child looked between the ages of 3 and 4. So being panicked, they decided to call the cops. So the people that saw the body, they called the cops, and immediately the cops rushed to the scene of the crime. And when the cops looked at the body, there was no obvious injuries or clues as to how the body may have gone there. That means it didn't look like the child was being hurt. So initially, the cops had actually thought that the child had walked or wandered away and then he found himself into the river. But on a second thought, there was no parents. Nobody had called the cops or called the authorities to report that their child was missing. So another thing that the cops actually found out when they examined the body of this child was that the child actually looked healthy and he also looked well fed. So from all indications, this child, he looks very healthy, he looks very well fed, and he looks like he's being taken care of. And the cops are wondering, like, who is the parent of this child? Nobody has actually called the station to report their child missing. So this was where they had to find out who the owner of this child was. So the police got down to the nitty-gritty stuff. So they went knocking on doors and putting up posters in tiny communities just in the south of Newport. So they had actually created like a computerized version of the child. Is that the right word to say? But they had actually created an image of how the child would look like if the child was alive, and then they posted the posters around the communities just around Newport. So when they posted the posters around, there was somebody that could recognize who the child was, and her name is Dennis Thompson. So Dennis Thompson, one day she ran the cops and she was like, hey, I know which child is that. I recognize that child. That child's name is Zachary Longo. So basically how she knew the child was because she actually worked with the dad of the child, Christian Longo, and there are some times where she used to babysit for the child. So this was when she told the authorities that Zachary's dad, Christian Longo, and his wife Mary Jane had actually moved to Yakina Bay in Oregon, and he had moved there like around 6 months ago. And she said that they became friends because sometimes she used to babysit for them and they used to babysit for like vice versa, and they became like close pals. She also said that they had 3 kids, which was Zachary, which at that time was 4 years old, Sadie, which at that time was 3 years old, and Madison, which at that time was 2 years old. So she also said that the last time that she had seen Christian, that Christian had actually told her that Mary Jane had taken the kids and had left him. She also said that Christian had ghosted work and had not come to shift the next day because they had shift together, but he had not shown up. Denise, on the other hand, she was very worried because she knew that Christian was a family man, and that she actually said that she thought that the breakup might have hit him hard. So obviously she's here thinking that this man came and literally said that his wife had taken the 3 children away, and all of a sudden one of the child is in the water, found dead. So she was literally very, very sad, feeling sad for the man, Christian, and police had invited her to identify the body, and she identified the body and she was like, yes, this is the body of Zachary Longo, I know him. And then she literally told them. So due to this information, the police, they actually paid a visit to the Longo's family residence. So when they went, they were staying on a condo right on the water, and at first glance when they moved in, everything seemed normal. But the police, they were actually thinking, they were like, how can somebody who works in Starbucks and is earning £7 for, not pounds, I live in the UK, that's amazing pounds, and is earning $7.40, how can he afford to live on a condo like this? If you guys don't know, condos are very, very expensive. So he was wondering, like, how can somebody who earns £7 why do I keep saying pounds, $7.40 per hour, and not only was he earning that amount, he was also working part-time. For someone who is earning that amount and working part-time, how is he able to afford living in a condo? That was the first thought about Christian that came across the minds of the police. At this point, Christian, his whole family, they were not seen as people of interest. Instead, they just wanted to let them know that, see, we found your child and hope everything is okay. So they went, they saw the landlord, and this was when the landlord had actually spilled the beans and told them that Christian actually said that he worked in a telephone company and they had not yet paid him. So but he still let them move in. He still let them move in because Christian had actually promised to pay him. But the thing is, Christian and his whole family, they were behind on rent in that place. Again, like, I don't understand, like, renting your house on credit. That, I've never heard of that before, but that was actually what was done. So the police, they got into the condo. When they got into the condo, everything looked normal. It didn't look like anybody had actually left the condo. Actually, it looked like people were still living there, but people just stepped out. You know, when you just step out maybe to go to work or to go to the grocery store, that's literally how it looked. So there was nothing, there was no indication that they might have just like packed up their things and left. So that was when the Oregon police station, or the Oregon police people and the FBI, that was when they went on a full-on nationwide hunt for the Longo family. So they started searching everywhere, and then they sent divers into the water, in which they had actually found Zachary. And lo and behold, in this river, this was where they found another body, and this was near a bridge called the Linslow Bridge. Guys, one thing about me is that I really don't know how to pronounce some words, so it's not on purpose. Like, sometimes the spelling is in my head, but pronouncing it can be very difficult, so please bear with me. Beneath the chilly Alsea rivers near the Linslow Bridge, this was where they saw the body of Sadie. This was where they saw the body of Sadie, who was just 3 years old. This is where they saw the body of Sadie, and she was weighted down in the river, and there was a pillowcase that was tied to her ankle, and inside this pillowcase had rocks inside it. So obviously, rocks inside a pillowcase tied to her ankle, the goal was just to weigh her down into the water so that she would really drown. And there was also another pillowcase with rocks that was also inside the water, but it was not attached to anybody. And this was where the police actually thought that this was the one that was on Zachary, but obviously it let loose in water, and that was why his body was floating. So you guys can imagine, if his body was not floating, if the pillow was still tied to his legs, he literally would not have been found when he was found. He would have been found maybe later, because he would have still been found, but like just not immediately. They had found 2 people, and the police know that that Christian and his wife, they had 3 children, but at this point they had found 2 children. So this was when the police actually made a formal information that they are looking for Christian and Mary Jane Longo. So the hotline started buzzing, and there was one guy that actually told the investigators that he had seen a guy parked on the bridge at the night of the tragedy. So according to him, he said that he had actually offered to help this man, but the man just said that he needed to cool down. The man refused his help. All he could remember was just a basic description of the driver, and that he was actually driving a red minivan, and the description that he actually gave actually matched that of Christian Longo. Another tip came from a hotel housekeeper where Longo had stayed when they first arrived in Oregon. So basically, she actually spilled the beans, and she was like that she had found important papers, birth certificates, and also other records alongside Mary Jane's driver's license and family photo album that were all tossed in the trash. So due to this, the police said to dig down into their investigation, and this was when they had dug into the history of Christian Longo. This is where they discovered a long trail of lies, greed, and basically fraud. So now this is where we're going to talk about the background of Christian Longo, because I'm sure you guys have been like, you just literally told us what happened in the crime. We've not, like, we don't know who anybody is. So this is where I'm going to tell you guys what actually happened. So Christian Longo was born in 1974 in Ypsilanti in Michigan, and he was born to a super devout Jehovah Witness family. So basically, Jehovah Witness, they call their church Kingdom. So he met his wife Mary Jane in the Kingdom, and she was 9 years older than him, and when he met her, he was 19, and if she was 9 years older than him, that means she would be 28 years old. So when they met each other, they actually fell in love, and they were deeply in love, and they just got hitched immediately. So in 1993, Christian actually stole money to get her this fancy diamond engagement ring. At that time, she didn't know that it was stolen, but at this time, Christian, he actually had conscience, so he later felt guilty, and then he paid the money back. And then this was when his fellow Jehovah Witness church member, I think they were working together in the same company, so this was when his fellow Jehovah Witness member actually ratted him out to the elders of the church, and due to this, Christian was not allowed to get married in his church. So I don't know where they actually got married. I didn't go down deep into that. I didn't research that. I don't know where they got married, but they did not get married in Jehovah Witness Kingdom, and I'm going to talk later on that. Anyways, so after this, you would think that Christian would, sit right and just become a better version of himself, but no, he did not. So this set the stage and the pattern of overspending. And one thing about living above your means is that you tend to do things in which you should not do, and this was the thing that led him to the path of fraud. Basically, when they got married, they started living large. They were wearing like new clothes, they were wearing fancy clothes, they had like gadgets. Christian, he loved automobiles, so they would get like luxury cars, have luxury getaways, and literally living above their means. And I just want to reiterate, Mary Jane, she was not part of this. Christian was doing this all by himself. The thing is, even though they were living like this, Christian could actually not afford it. Before you know it, they started drowning in direct debits. What am I saying? They started drowning in credit card debts. I said direct debit. They started drowning in credit card debts. So Christian and his brother, they actually started a construction cleanup business. At first, this company was doing very well, but all of a sudden the company just like crashed, like the income was not coming through, and this was because there was a quick expansion in business. So this company was doing well at first, that even his dad actually invested in the business, but obviously, like I said earlier, the company just fell, like the business just fell because there was just a quick expansion in business, which actually really affected the growth of the business. And also, not only that, when customers were late in payment, I think it was like a recurring thing, and everything just went south. Guys, I just realized that my camera is not plugged, my microphone is not plugged in. Oh my days, I just realized my microphone is not plugged in. I'm sorry about that. So obviously, Christian wanted to keep up this persona because his business was making this amount bit of cash. She was living a particular way, and now that the business was crashing or was going down, he just wanted to keep up this persona. So what he actually did, he started writing himself hot checks from businesses, and he was forging clients' checks. The debt was just too much that one day he woke up and his car got repossessed, so they were just left with one car, and obviously they had this growing family. Also, I forgot to mention that when Mary Jane had given birth to her first child, she decided to be a stay-at-home mom because she actually did think that her husband was capable to handle the whole family. So she decided to be a stay-at-home mom, but she did not know that her husband had been lying to her all this while. So like I said earlier, they had just one car because the other car got repossessed, so they had only one car. So there was a time the car broke down. When the car broke down, Christian went to buy another car. So when he went to buy this other car, he went to the car dealership and then he requested to test drive the car, and that is how he test drove the car, and he never came back. And then he went to his wife and told his wife that, see, this is the car I got for you as a present. And the wife at first was very happy that, oh yeah, my husband got me this car. But then again, she became very worried because there was no bills that was coming through the post asking for, there was no bills coming through the post in favor of the car. Because then again, like, if you get a brand new car, if you buy a car, at least you should get bills that would talk about like your insurance or like your monthly payments on the car. And again, this was 2001, this was around 2001, 2000, where there was no email. There was email, but like email was not widely used as it's used now. So obviously they'll be sending like your monthly bills. Paper mails and bills installations, they were still very much in vogue. So his wife, she became worried when she discovered. She was like, oh my god, like, I've not seen any bills coming in respect to the car. And with this, all of a sudden, Christian started faking and forging emails of bills and sending it to the house. And as a wife, I'm thinking, like, won't you find that suspicious? Because why is it after you've spoken about it that you're already seeing the bills? Like, I would be like, I'll find that suspicious. Maybe I should give my thoughts later down this video, because I have a lot of things that I really want to say, but sometimes I know it's going to come out inside the video. But yeah, let's just keep on going. One day she decided to look into the email of her husband, Christian. When she looked at his email, she found out that he was chatting with another lady. He was actually cheating on his wife emotionally. He told this lady that he was chatting with that he did not love his wife any longer since she gave birth to children, that he didn't love his wife. And his wife saw this and confronted him. At first, the wife told her sister, and when she confronted him, she was like, this is what I've seen in your email. And he told her flat out, and he was like, yes, since you gave birth, you have not been fun any longer. And I'm like, I forgot to also mention that Christian, he was actually arrested for forgery and he was just given probation. So I'm like, your wife, you're saying your wife is not being fun, but like, what of all the things that you may have done to have put her in that position that you put her in? Christian got arrested for forgery, and due to him being arrested for forgery, he was excommunicated from his church. Like, he was kicked out from his church. And obviously, because he was married, his wife too was kicked out from his church too. The wife's family still kept up with her, because one thing about the Jehovah's Witness is that if they excommunicate someone from their church or kick out someone from their church, no other person is allowed to talk to them. That brings me to my question. Why? I was born into a Christian family, into a Christian home, and growing up, I came across like churches. I heard about churches who will literally excommunicate women when they get pregnant before marriage. They will literally throw them out of the church, or they will bring them to the front of the church to humiliate them. I don't know if that's still going on, but as a child, when I used to hear things like that, I used to wonder, I'm like, how the hell is that even possible? Like, it's literally a child, and most times the men naturally do not even get as much heat as the woman does. And even if as a child I felt that was weird, like, it's even worse now. And honestly, I do not think any church should excommunicate or kick out their members, no matter what, because Jesus Christ God still loves his children despite anything. One thing God practices is love. And imagine you're preaching the word of God. Yeah, you're preaching the word of God, you're preaching the sermon. Imagine if you're being thrown out of the arms of God when you go to him, when you call to him. Imagine if when you pray to God, the God that you're preaching about, God says forgive 77 times. I don't know. But God, like, the amount of times you forgive is endless, but don't try me though. But if as a church, all of a sudden you just kicked out your member, I think that is weird. Honestly, I do not care. It can never ever sit right with me. It can never sit right with me. I actually do not give a flipping fuck what you think. It can never sit right with me. You have no right to excommunicate anybody, because the church is where you should be accepted no matter your flaws. Don't you even say, like, I don't know if they still do it now, like when criminals are put in prison, and when they feel like, oh, maybe this criminal needs to be out of prison. In the olden days, they used to take them to, like, the Pope, is it the Pope in Italy, to go and stay there. And because despite your sin, the church is like a representation of God. I'm so sorry that I dived into this, because I do not condone what Christian did, but I feel like the church was wrong for excommunicating him. This is the time we should bring him closer to God and speak to him, if literally that is what it is. But honestly, I do not care what you have to say, but honestly, I just think it's weird. Despite the fact that this man was excommunicated from his church, he actually did not stop the scams. He was still scamming. While on probation, he was still scamming. He managed to snag a credit card in his dad's name, and he ran up the credit card up to $100,000 in debt. I'm like, $100,000 in debt? Like, how? $100,000 in debt. So he racked it up to $100,000 in debt. And he also got another gift with this money for his wife, which was very questionable. The gift that he got for his wife was a laser eye surgery. I wanted to keep my opinion to the end of this video, because I find it hard to believe that the wife actually did not have an inkling, or did not have the insinuation that her husband was actually being a fraudster. On 3 different occasions, this has actually shown, or 2 that we know of now, but like on 2 different occasions, it's actually shown. First of all, your husband stole money to buy your gift. Secondly, he was actually arrested for forgery, and then all of a sudden he comes out and gives you this questionable gift of a laser eye surgery. Honestly speaking, I feel like women, we actually know, but for some reason we think that it will never affect us. And I just want us to stop having that mentality. If just like a man shouting at a waiter, he's going to do it to you one day. I'm not victim blaming, but I'm just saying there's no way she did not know. I feel that she knew, but she didn't think it was going to go as bad as it did. So like I said, he actually got a credit card in his dad's name, and he used the credit card up to $100,000 in debt, which I don't even know what he did with that. And then after that, he actually paid for a laser eye surgery for his wife Mary. So 7 weeks after the conviction, when they placed him on probation for his forgery, 7 weeks after, he packed up his bags and then he moved to Toledo in Ohio. And I'm like, when you're on probation, because I think they gave him, is this 7 years probation? I can't remember. And I'm like, when you're on probation, please, somebody, please, if I'm wrong, please let me know. But when you're on probation, are you meant to leave the country, the city that you're in on probation for? I don't think you're meant to leave the city. But actually, he did not care. He actually left the city and he went to Toledo in Ohio. So this is where they actually lived, in an old warehouse. And the wife didn't she ask questions? Like, honestly, I find it so hard to believe. First of all, they moved around a lot. That is like number 1 red flag. Like, they moved around a lot. Like, why is the husband moving around? Like, what excuse did he give? Because then again, Christian is known to be a very good smooth talker. But then again, I don't think that is an excuse, you know. Anyway, 7 weeks after his conviction, they packed up, they moved to Toledo in Ohio, and then they lived in a warehouse with proper plumbing. So this was where Christian, when they moved here, Christian promised his wife that they were going to turn it into an apartment. So while they were there, he continued doing his shady deals, he continued cashing fake checks, and also he started selling stolen tools just to pay the rent of the warehouse that they were living in. This scam actually got busted, and when the scam got busted, the family actually picked up and moved. This is what I'm saying. Did she know? Like, honestly, I cannot believe she didn't know. Like, it would be there, because like, why you guys just moving, living in a warehouse, living in this, living in that? Your husband's on probation, he left. Like, the questions, wasn't she asking the right questions? And then again, I understand that this was in 2003 when women did not really have a voice like that. But then again, she was like literally 9 years older than him. Like, I feel like she would have known. She should have known. The scam got busted, and for some reason, he found out that the police were onto him. I actually don't know how he always knows that the police are onto him. So he found out that the police, they were onto him. So him and his family, they vanished. So they left, and they left behind everything. They left behind Mary Jane's wedding dress. They left behind their photos, and he also cut off Mary Jane's phone and isolated her from her family. So her family, they actually did get worried. They got worried and they reported her and her kids as missing. At first, the police did not really take this as serious, but they were like, yeah, we'll look into it and everything. So little did they know that the family, they were on the run. They were just driving around in this stolen moving van. So they had an SUV and they had a van. So they were literally just driving around in this stolen van and their SUV, and the family, they did not even know that they were on a run. So during this time, while they were driving around and just wandering about, they stayed in cheap hotels and in cheap motels and in campsites. That is what I'm saying. The wife, didn't she ask any question? I'm not victim blaming. I know it's already too late, but didn't she ask any question? However, she had no clue that this was what her husband was doing, because for some reason, I don't know the lies he actually told his wife, because she was actually believing these lies. Her family, they stayed in South Dakota, and obviously, I think Christian knew that, okay, because obviously the family would be worried. He actually sent a postcard to them in South Dakota, and the family, they took this postcard and took it to the police, and the police was like, see, she's fine, they sent a postcard, don't worry, she's fine, there's nothing for you guys to worry about. And that's how they actually did drop that case. Christian, even though he did this, he decided to continue with his petty schemes of stealing money, passing dodgy checks. But then again, he got a job at Starbucks, and this was like literally his first real job in ages. So he got this job, and this was where he crossed paths with Denise Thompson that I spoke about earlier. He was still desperate to keep up this facade between Denise and his manager and the people, his colleague that he worked with in Starbucks, and he told them that he was just working in Starbucks because he loved coffee, but he actually has a very big job as an internet gig. So he was just working in Starbucks because he loved coffee, and he just decided to work in Starbucks. And like I said earlier, Starbucks was like his part-time job. So they actually believed him, and again, he was living in a condo, so they were like, I think that's why they believed him more, because number one, he's living in a condo, number two, he's working part-time in Starbucks. So put two and two together, him having this job in this other good paying job will be what will pay their money or pay their rent. Yeah, pay their rent. But let's be honest, working part-time, $7.40 or 40 cents in Starbucks was not going to sustain a family of 5, more or less pay their rent. They were always behind on rent, and their pantry just kept getting like emptier, like literally they were broke. And I'm like, wasn't the wife asking questions? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the signs were just too open for her to ignore. On the night of December 16, 2001, Christian actually stood on his balcony and he was gazing out at the water. And as he was standing at his balcony, he just knew, oh my days, eviction is around the corner. And he just hesitated to break the news to his wife. Little did he know that this night was going to be the start of the end game. So now let's fast forward to December 27th, where we actually started from. This was when divers were sent into the water near the Longo's condo after they had found the bodies of. So fast forward to the future where we started from. So let's not forget that they'd already found the bodies of Zachary and Sadie. So December 27th, after Christmas, this was when everything just took a grim turn. Divers, they were actually sent into the water near the Longos condo. When they were sent into the water, they stumbled upon 2 suitcases. One of the bags had human hair that was just sticking out of the box, and inside was the lifeless body of Mary Jane. So Mary Jane, she was actually naked, and she had like bruises around her neck that looked like they came from somebody's hand. So that just indicates that she was strangled. The second suitcase actually held the body of Madison, and there was also clothes in this suitcase and dumbbells to weigh her down. The very next day, Christian found himself on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, and he was wanted for the murder of his wife and his kids. So a break in the case came forward when they heard that Christian had applied for another Starbucks in San Francisco in California. So FBI agents, they were lurking around Starbucks there. I don't know if why was he always applying to Starbucks? I don't get it. So this was when the FBI agents were lurking around the Starbucks in San Francisco because they actually thought that Christian was going to show up there one day. But actually Christian did not. He never showed up there, and this was when they just uncovered his sneaky move. So basically what Christian had done, he had actually stolen a credit card, and he stole this credit card to buy a plane ticket, and he bought this plane ticket to Texas, and then from Texas he went to Cancun in Mexico. So I think maybe he went by river, because I think is the police, obviously he bought this credit card, he stole this credit card, and him stealing this credit card, the police, even though they were watching what he was purchasing, they were always behind him because they only knew after he had done what he had done, if that makes sense. I think it does. So now it was time for the FBI to team up with the Mexican authorities to track down Christian. One of the first moves and first thing that they did was plastering his face just around Cancun. So there were flyers of his face as a wanted man just around Cancun in Mexico, and there was also a hotline for anyone who knew about the whereabouts of Christian to actually call the Mexican authorities. So in a surprising twist, just 48 hours after they had done this, they actually got 2 leads. So first of all was a Canadian tourist who said that she spotted Christian in Cancun, and also there was a Mexican tour guide that actually said that he remembered taking Christian, who went by the name Mike. So you remember taking Christian, who went by the name Mike, on a snorkeling trip. Guys, like I said, I don't know how to pronounce things, like, yeah. On a snorkeling trip. So the guide had actually said that he had dropped Mike, that's Christian, off in his camp, and he gave police the exact location. So obviously police, they decided to go to the location that was given to them by the tour guide. But before they actually went to the location to capture Christian, there was a little hitch due to bureaucracy. I really don't know how to explain it, but the behind the scenes, because obviously these are authorities from 2 different countries coming to catch a criminal. So obviously there will be things that would be done behind the scene, like paperwork. So that was actually what took time. But during this time, officers, they actually put Christian like under surveillance. They were following him wherever he went to. So there were a time where they saw him, he was soaking up in the Mexican sun, he was scuba diving, he was smoking some devil's lettuce, he was also hitting the bars, he was charming the ladies. Literally, this man was having the fun of his life while police was watching him. And also, obviously, if you don't know by now, he actually did kill his family, but we'll get to that. On top of all this, he had actually told everybody, see guys, my name is Mark Finkel, and I am also a New York Times reporter. I forgot to mention, Christian used to work in a newspaper front, and yeah, he used to work in a newspaper production company, but he was not earning as much, and he got frustrated and he left. That was when he did the business. He started the business that he did, the construction cleanup business. That was when he started the construction cleanup business. So because obviously he worked in a newspaper publication. He knew about reporters, and that's when he took the alias of Mark Finkel. Sometimes when you tell these true crime stories, honestly, you just think it is a movie, because like, this is actually real life, you know. This is actually real life. When I think about it, I'm like, this is real life. These are real people. Finally, on February 14th, 2002, after 2.5 weeks in Mexico, they actually caught Christian. So the FBI and the Mexican federal agents, they busted into his cabin while he was high. He was in a buff, and he was also with a German photographer that he had actually met at a youth hostel. And I'm sure he told this German photographer, I'm sure he told him that he was Mark Finkel. Anyways, fast forward to March 10, 2003. That was when his trial actually started. So at first, Christian pleaded not guilty to all counts of murder, but later he agreed to killing his wife Mary Jane and his daughter Madison. But he said that he did not kill Zachary and Sadie, that he's not the one that did that. So according to the trial, he served up like multiple conflicting stories, because liars don't have one story. So he was actually saying multiple conflicting stories before he actually settled for the old blame the wife story. Like, literally, it's because of her, that's why I did it. According to him, he said that he had found Madison lifeless on the bed, and Mary Jane confessed to killing the older kids. So he said that was when he lost it, and then that was when he strangled Mary Jane in a fit of rage. And then he said that after he finished, he had seen that Madison was breathing, and that was when he had finished her off, because he had already thought that she was dead. I'm sure you'll be wondering, like, why would Mary Jane just be angry with him? So according to him, he told the officials that he had told Mary Jane about the truth at night. He told Mary Jane the truth at night, but the next day, Mary Jane took him to work, drove him to work, that she was so angry. She was not wearing flip-flops, I think so, I can't remember. She was literally not dressing well because she was very angry. And then when he came back from work, that was when he found out that she had killed the two children, Zachary and Sadie. So with Madison, he said that he saw Madison struggling for breath, and that was when he decided to kill Madison. So obviously, if you actually believe this bullcrap, then you should get yourself checked, because I don't know who cooks up such a lie and expects to be believed. The jury, obviously, they did not actually believe him. They didn't buy this whole story. They did not believe him. And after 4 hours of deliberation, they had actually slapped him with the guilty verdict, and they were like, guy, you are very guilty. So he was found guilty on all 4 counts of first-degree murder, and the defense were trying to, at least send him to life imprisonment, but the prosecutor, they wanted him to die, so they sentenced him to death. That's the Oregon, they have like this hold on the death penalty, so that kind of spared him a little bit. I think he's still alive, and he was sent to the Oregon State Prison. So Christian Longo, he's still alive. He's still in the Oregon State Prison. So real life Mike Finkel, he actually got obsessed with this case after he heard about it, because obviously the perpetrator, Christian, was actually using his name in Mexico. So he got obsessed with this case after he heard about it, and he started conversating and corresponding with Christian. So he decided to start visiting Christian, and when he started visiting Christian at first, he started lying. He started lying to everybody. He was claiming that he was innocent, but later on he actually said the truth, which we'll go to later. So basically, Mark Finkel, the real Mark Finkel, he actually penned a memoir called True Story, Murder Memoir Mea Culpa. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it well. So this was later turned into a movie in 2015 called True Story. I've actually not watched it, and I think I'm going to watch it, to be fair. I love watching documentaries and movies that stem from true life story, and like true crime movies that stem from true life story. Like, find me there. Anyways, like I said, at first, Christian, he lied to everybody, even Mark that was corresponding with him, trying to get the realty from him. He lied to everybody, but eventually he actually said the truth. He actually spilled the beans as to what had actually happened the day of the crime. So he actually said that while he was at work, he was actually very overwhelmed with the pressure of providing for his family, and then he was like, he just thought that he needed to send them to a better place. Why didn't you send yourself to the better place? Why are you sending another person that did not ask you to a better place? And even if someone tells you to kill them, why should you kill them? Please do not take anybody's life. Do not take anybody's life. I don't know how to say this enough. Do not take anybody's life. He said that after work, during a lovemaking session, he just found the perfect opportunity to take the life of his wife. So basically, he strangled his wife while they were actually making love, which is so sad. So he said that he did the same to Madison, and when he did the same to Madison, he just found it disturbing to repeat the same act on his other two children. That is Sadie and Zachary. So this was when he decided to do what he did. So before he did what he did with Sadie and Zachary, which I will go to later, he had actually packed the bodies of his wife and his daughter into two different suitcases, and then he tossed them into the water while he was figuring out what to do with the other two kids. He told Mark Finkel, that he actually took Zachary and Madison into the minivan while they were asleep, and then he buckled them into their seat, and then already he had like pillowcases that were filled with rocks. And this was when he reached to the middle of the Slough Bridge, and then he pulled them over and then quietly let them out one by one, and he tied the pillowcases on their ankles and gently dropped them into the water. Guys, I am so surprised that I'm not crying, because oh my days, around this place, I just used to like cry. This is my second time recording this video, because the first time that I recorded it around this time, I was literally crying. So I'm surprised that the tears are in my eyes. But yeah, this is so sad, because like, just imagine, what were they thinking? Like, the children, what were they thinking? What was their school of thought at that moment? Like, their dad, like, I'm sure the one person they believed in, like, what were they thinking falling off that bridge into water? How did they hold up? How did they breathe? How did they fight for their lives? 3 and 4, they're very much aware. Afterward, he said that he attended a Christmas party of the company he worked for, and this was when he gifted his co-worker his wife's perfume. He gifted his co-worker his dead wife's perfume, Mary Jane's perfume, and then after that, he rented a movie and worked a shift at Starbucks, and then he played some volleyball. After that, he only left town once Zachary's body was found. Guys, if this guy is not a sociopath, a psychopath, and a narcissist, I really don't know what he is, honestly, because honestly, he had no sympathy, no remorse, no empathy for what he did to his family. Like, can you imagine? He said that he killed his family because he didn't want his family to witness his failure to provide, and also he did not want his wife Mary to like discover that she's been living years of deceit, and to also discover that she married a loser. So he was like, that's why he killed his family, because he didn't want his wife to know that, oh, she married a thief, she married a loser, and that she has been living a lie all this while. Last we heard from Christian Longo, he deemed himself irredeemable, and he was working on overturning laws that prohibited death row inmates from donating their organ. So basically, he had a blog called GAVE, G-A-V-E, and it means gift of anatomical value from everyone. But this blog has not been updated since 2015, so we don't know what's going on with his life. But yeah, and I did not know that, honestly, I did not actually know that death row inmates were not allowed to donate organs. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I would want to get the brain of a serial killer or a murderer. I probably never in that position, but I don't know if anyone would want to, so I can see why the law is in place. But then again, I don't know, that was just like a very weird thing, because I actually did not even know that was a thing. But guys, that is the end of our video. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video for more weekly true crime content. Are you loving the new background? Actually, this is like another different place in my room. So the first time when I moved to this place, I used to record here and I used to have like a plant here, but all my plants are there and it's just like shelves that are here. So yeah, but guys, that is the end of this video. If you like it, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye.